Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog. As you guys have noticed, I've done a lot of crossovers this year, from Ford and Chevrolet to the Maserati Levante, the BMW X2, and the Audi Q8. But today, I'm in the completely redesigned 2019 Acura RDX. Huge thank you to Acura of Boston for allowing me to do this review. The link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Acura inventory. Throughout the year, I have seen a number of people compare the Acura RDX to the BMW X2. And I think a lot of it has to do with pricing, as the X2 can get into the same price range as the RDX. But Acura says this crossover compares more to the X3, the Audi Q5, the Volvo XC60, and a number of others in this particular price range and segment. Now actually, Acura is one of the best-selling crossovers in this particular segment, outselling the BMW X3 for the last 3 years. Hopefully in this video, I discuss why this crossover is a big winner for the Acura brand. And if consumers really do perceive the X2 to be in the same price range, then it explains why the Acura RDX is close to selling 60,000 vehicles this year. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right into it. In the latter part of 2006, Acura was one of the first luxury brands to add a small mid-size crossover in their lineup. The RDX, which is Acura's best-selling vehicle, now finds itself among a crowded segment, with a new competitor like the Cadillac XT4, which is the American luxury brand's way to reach new consumers. Despite experiencing the best sales figure since its arrival to showrooms 12 years ago, the RDX has received significant upgrades for 2019 to stay one step ahead of the competition. Today we're taking a look at the RDX A-Spec, which is going to add some sporty elements both inside and out. Acura is in the midst of rebranding, and this crossover is a prime example of that with an all-new front fascia. Separating the A-Spec from the technology package is the black diamond pentagon grille and black trim that replaces the chrome you'll find on other RDX models. There will also be A-Spec front and rear bumpers to give this crossover a more aggressive appearance, along with larger exhaust tips, 20-inch shark gray split 5-spoke wheels, and an A-Spec package exclusive dark internal headlights and taillights, which helps give the RDX a low-profile look. One of the selling points of the A-Spec is the $400 option Apex Blue paint, which goes perfectly with the black trim. For 2019, Acura is bringing back the super handling all-wheel drive system that wasn't available for the second generation RDX. Being welcomed back by consumers and journalists, This all-wheel drive system is going to make this crossover enjoyable to drive, with the return of torque vectoring, as 70% of torque can be sent to the rear wheels, with either wheel getting up to 100% of that torque. Also receiving some attention is blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and front and rear parking sensors coming standard on the RDX technology, A-Spec, and advanced packages, whereas some competitors offer the safety technology as optional equipment. Taking a look at the back, you'll get a power tailgate, and inside you'll find 30 cubic feet of cargo room, which is an improvement of about 3 cubic feet from last generation. There's also compartments underneath, which is great if you're carrying items you don't want people to see and possibly steal. With the seats folded down, the rear cargo volume doubles in size to almost 60 cubic feet, which Acura claims is class leading in this segment of crossovers. For performance, the RDX gets a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that gets 272 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission, which is all new for 2019. Just like with the super handling all-wheel drive system, the 4-cylinder has made a return, as it replaces the V6 engine that was offered last generation. While there's a slight decrease in horsepower with a smaller engine, torque numbers increased. Acura says the 2019 RDX will go from 0 to 60 in around 5.7 seconds, which is about half a second faster from 2018. But as of right now, there is no official data. For drivetrain options, front-wheel drive comes standard, with all-wheel drive being a $2,000 option. When it comes to fuel economy, you can expect to receive 21 miles per gallon in the city and 27 miles per gallon on the highway with all-wheel drive. And if you choose to go with front-wheel drive, fuel efficiency numbers increase very slightly. Now, before I go through the interior of this vehicle, I want to focus solely on the infotainment system. I don't normally do this just because most touchscreens and infotainment systems are very easy to go through and navigate through, but there is a little bit of a learning curve with Acura's infotainment system. So you don't get a touchscreen for Acura, instead you get a touchpad, or at least that's what I would call it. I do recommend spending 2 to 3 minutes getting used to this. That's what I had to do before I started filming this review, just because I'm not used to this style of touchpad. I know that other vehicles do have this, but this is a little bit of a learning curve just because you have to get used to where the buttons are and you have to kind of guess where they are. And once you get to that point where you know where they are, it's second nature. So I think after about 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to be focusing more on the road and not on the touchpad, which is pretty good. I also think in theory, or at least fundamentally, having a touchpad instead of a touch screen is safer for the driver, just because with this screen being more towards eye level, I don't need to focus on, going a little bit lower and have my eyes off the road. I think this is a safer infotainment system if you are interested in a vehicle in this particular segment. As I said, you do have to guess where the buttons are, but once you get to that point where it's second nature, it pretty much is easy from there. So you know where the navigation screen would be. It's going to be your top left. You can move these around. You can move these buttons around to make it a little easier, but again, once you start figuring out where the buttons are, it becomes so much easier to use and navigate through. You also have a secondary touchpad, which is for your display to the right of your main screen. So this you'll see like what's playing on your radio, your navigation, or your clock. And by clicking on either one, it will then pop up as your side screen. So if you don't want to see your navigation as your full screen display, you can have it on the side. You can also have what time it is, your clock, and stuff like that. Now, also to mention here is that you do get Apple CarPlay. Android Auto is not available yet. Android and Acura are working on that to make it possible. But once Android Auto is available, you can just go to the Acura dealership and they'll run the update for you. And right then and there you have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto available to you. Now, also to note, for the camera systems. Now we have a backup camera. You also get your front and rear parking sensors, but with the advanced package, you will get a 360-degree overview camera that is not available on the A-Spec or the technology package. So that's just one thing to know when you are configuring the RDX, or if you go to a dealership, just realize that you can only get the 360-degree camera on the advanced package. Continuing on with the rest of the interior, you're greeted by heated and ventilated 12-way power-adjustable leather front seats with suede inserts for both the driver and passenger. For me, the seats provided a good amount of bolstering, and were some of the more comfortable seats I've experienced in this segment of crossover SUVs. In front of you is a digital information display in the center of your analog instrument panel, which gets a sporty appearance with the A-Spec package. Using the buttons mounted on a leather-wrapped steering wheel, you can scroll through a variety of information, and change what you see in between your analog gauges. Moving over to the center console, beneath the infotainment system, you'll find the buttons for your dual-zone climate control and heated seats. You're also going to find a dial for your drive mode selector, with 4 different drive modes available that will change throttle response. And for Sport Plus, I noticed a slight difference in engine noise. In the RDX, you won't get a gear shift lever, and instead there will be push buttons. If you're familiar with the Honda brand or are upgrading to the Acura RDX, this is becoming common inside most vehicles for the Honda and Acura family, and in general, appears to be the direction for most cars in the automotive industry. Conveniently hidden are 2 cup holders, a USB input, and a storage area for your smartphone. For the center storage compartment, you have enough room for small items. But inside the RDX, there's additional space beneath the center console, where you'll find a 12-volt outlet and another USB input. For all passengers in the back, they're going to get an ample amount of legroom, including the 5th passenger in the middle, as the floor is flat, which will allow that person to stretch their legs a little more than in most crossovers in this segment. You'll find 2 additional USB inputs and 2 rear air vents. 3-level heated rear seats are only available on the advanced package. For additional comfort features, you'll get a 16-speaker ELS Studio 3D Premium audio system. And above is a panoramic sunroof that lets in a lot of natural light. Ending this review, I just want to say I really like this crossover. It's a really nice size, it's not too big, it's not too small. The seats are really comfortable. I feel like they wrap around me. I think if you are getting the A-Spec, these seats are going to be really nice. They add a lot of bolstering, and I think consumers are going to really like this crossover. Now, the A-Spec is meant to be a little more sporty, and I think the seats add that to the driving experience. Another reason why I think having the X2 compared to the RDX from consumers is a good thing is because there's a lot of room back there for passengers, especially where there's a flat floor, so there's no hump in the middle. For the 5th passenger in the middle, they're gonna like that. I think they're gonna really like that, where other competitors, there is a bump there and then they're gonna be a little bit cramped. But also there's a lot more cargo space in the back. You have the compartments underneath the floor. So I think it just works really well for this crossover that people are comparing it to smaller crossovers. I just think it has a lot to do with the pricing. I don't think it has anything to do with just the perception that this is a smaller crossover. But when you look at Acura and you look at their lineup, the RDX is the smallest crossover. So naturally, there will be consumers who think that it compares to the Q3, the X2, and the Volvo XC40. But actually, it does a lot better with the XC60 and the BMW X3. And I kind of see why it does do better, just from the standpoint, again, with the optional packages. It's all straightforward, but it's also very comfortable, and it's significantly cheaper than the X3 when you start speccing it out with more packages that necessarily you may not need. Once again, I'd like to thank Acura of Boston for letting me film this 2019 Acura RDX. This review would not have been possible without Nick and Kevin, and I will leave their contact information in the description below. So if you're interested in purchasing a new or used Acura, they're your go-to guys that will help you find the vehicle you're looking for. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you next time.